If we could, please take our seats. Welcome to this evening's meeting. We will have our invocation by Minister Joseph Jones, A. Joseph Jones of Redemption Fellowship Christian Ministries in Jonesboro, will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please stand with me.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come here on behalf of the people. Lord, we thank you for this meeting. And Lord, we ask you, Father, that you will bless the commissioners, Lord, and the people, Lord, that we'll be on one accord. Lord, let your spirit just rule and ride in us, Lord. And Father, that we would do your will, Lord. We will understand that this is for the people and not for ourselves. Yes. Father, remove anything that is not in us, Lord, that's not of you. Father, pride or anything of that nature. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity, Lord, for the people to come together, Lord, and discuss the things that matter to each other. And Lord, we give you the honor, we give you the praise. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the June 20th, 2017 regular business meeting. The first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Does any member want to offer any amendments?
Is there a motion?
Madam Clerk, I'd like to make the motion that we amend the agenda to remove item number 11 regarding budget controls, number 13 regarding the public comment, and numbers 31 through 35 regarding the Development Authority and CID appointments. I'm sorry, and 36. And number 4 for the RFP number 17-25.
Yeah, well, you said a mouthful there, so let's take them one at a time. The first one being, you said, Commissioner Evans.
Did you get those, Ms. Davis? And then the
I
first one
did.
being
The
number
first one
11,
is
budget controls.
Number 11, that's Resolution 2017-40, and that's for the Comprehensive Standardized Budget Controls.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
A second.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Next one.
The next one was item number 13. That's Resolution 2017-49, and that's for the televised public comment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
I have a question. Why are we putting this off much longer when this is something we need to go ahead and address?
And I agree with that. I had them put it on the agenda for tonight because I truly believe that we owe it to our citizens to go ahead and make a decision on this once and for all and move forward. And it was my hope that we would move forward in the spirit of retelevising it because it truly needs to be retelevised. Any other questions, statements? Hearing none, those favor aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. 3-2, it passes. Next one.
The next are board appointments to the Airport South and the 4 Development Authority appointments.
Appointment.
That's 31 through 36, and the Library Board. And that's
What-
item number 36.
What's the reasoning that we hold? I apologize.
Well, hold on. Let's get a second on it first.
Second.
Any questions?
Yes. Why are we holding all these items? This was submitted over a week ago. We do hold items sometimes at the end, but this is quite a few items to be holding on an agenda.
Yeah, especially the Development Authority one. I'm ready to move forward with it because I have candidates who I would like to select or at least to recommend to this board. So I really don't see a need to continue to hold these items. Any other questions?
No.
Statements?
The voters need to be responsible for their votes. That's all I have to say.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
3-2, it passes. Next.
And the last item is under Central Services, which is under item number 19. Number 4 which is the recommendation for award RFP number 17-25. This is the healthcare insurance coverage.
Is there a second on Commissioner Edmondson's motion?
Second.
Any questions?
I have a statement. On this, I asked previously, I had a meeting with the department head as well as others, and I asked why did we proceed with the RFP without utilizing the broker. And at that time, I was told because they were told by one particular commissioner to move forward. Let me say this is a board of 5 commissioners. Our enabling has 5 commissioners. It was decided some time ago that the COO, the department heads report to 5 commissioners, not 1 commissioner. It is too often that decisions are made through one phone call without conversation or without it being brought to this board, and it is my understanding that it's in total violation of the sunshine laws of the state of Georgia. Unfortunately, we do not have an attorney general that will look into it, so I'm making this statement tonight because it is up to you as the people to understand how business is conducted on this board and in your government.
Any other questions or statements? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Chairman, would you also move item number 24 till after executive session? It has a real estate component that I'd like to discuss with you in executive session before you act on it. My request was that you move item number 24 to after executive session. It has a real estate component, and I'd like to discuss that in executive session before you act on it.
Okay, I'll place that in the form of a motion to remove, not remove, but hold item 24 until after executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Are there any further amendments? Hearing none, may we have a motion to adopt the agenda with the approved amendments?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Next are 3 sets of minutes for approval. We'll take the approval of the June 6, 2017 regular business meeting minutes and the May 30th, 2017 special call meeting minutes.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Next, if we can have an emotion on the May 23rd, 2017 work session minutes.
Is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, we should have one abstention. Commissioner Franklin Warner
Oh, yes,
was
ma'am.
absent for the 23rd.
We've got one abstention. I
4
apologize.
and 1 abstention, that passes. Next.
Thank you. Next, the board has one proclamation. Clayton County recognizes the AKA sorority for their community service efforts as presented by Commissioner Warner. Will the members of the AKA sorority please come forward?
Kappa Alpha. Say Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Alpha Kappa Alpha. Thank you, Commissioner Gregory. As the commissioners come to join you for the presentation of the proclamation. Now the reading of the
Proclamation
proclamation.
reads, Clayton County recognizes Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Psi Alpha Omega Chapter. Whereas Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, aka, is an international service organization that was founded on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. in 1908. It is the oldest Greek-lettered organization established by African American college-educated women. Alpha Kappa Alpha's mission is to cultivate and encourage high scholastic and ethical standards, to promote unity and friendship among college women, to study and help alleviate problems concerning girls and women in order to improve their social stature, to maintain a progressive interest in college life, and to be of service to all mankind. And whereas the Psi Alpha Omega chapter was chartered on December 10, 2005, and serves Clayton County and Henry County. The chapter strives to provide service to all mankind and has done that by partnering with several community organizations and businesses in the Southern Crescent region. And whereas the members of Psi Alpha Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc. have exemplified the spirit of their founders in their roles as educators, advocates, leaders, politicians, medical professionals, engineers, entertainers, activists, and the list goes on, both professionally and voluntarily, and through their efforts to improve the quality of life and overall well-being of citizens in Clayton County, Georgia. And whereas the Psi Alpha Omega chapter's mission and programs benefit our community through initiatives such as Stroll to the Pole, MLK Community Impact Day, Habitat Building Project, Childhood Hunger Awareness Day, Relay for Life, Ascend Mentoring Program, Christmas Toy Distribution for Securus House, Leaving a Legacy of Love, Celebrating and Educating Seniors, and much more. And whereas Clayton County is honored to recognize the members of the Psi Alpha Omega chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc. and commend the sisters for their commitment and service to their local community. Now, therefore, I, Felicia Franklin Warner, Commissioner, on behalf of the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, do hereby recognize the dedicated work of the sisters of the Psi Alpha Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc., and urge all citizens to join me in honoring them for their continued commitment, support, and dedication to Clayton County, Georgia. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Clayton County, Georgia to be affixed this 20th day of June in the year 2017. Felicia Franklin Warner, Commissioner.
I want you to know that even though they look good and they put on their pearls, they actually helped us refurbish our park, Panhandle Park. They went and painted everything in the park. I don't know if it was our solicitor excited about paint or what. Thank you all. Thank you. Everybody. Thank you so much.
The board will now hear a presentation from Mr. Keith Parker, General Manager of MARTA, offering a quarterly briefing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hope all's well. Thank you. So this is the latest update of, let's see, you got that going? Who's working on it? Oh, just trying to get the slideshow going. Wanted to just give you an update of what's happening with your public transportation system and offer an opportunity to have questions answered. So the highlights of the presentation will include an legislative outlook as well as a look at our fiscal year 18 budget, a state of the service, and an invitation to our upcoming APTA, American Public Transportation Association meeting and expo, as well as to show you a quick video of the response to the I-85 bridge collapse. So from the legislative front, a few things to be aware of. The White House budget that was released a couple of months ago includes major cuts to transportation, public transportation specifically, upwards of a 13% cut, and a real trimming back, and they call it the skinny budget, but a trimming back of the commitment to capital programming. This would impact MARTA as a whole because we have a number of major capital projects that we want to pursue and potentially could impact Clayton County's high-capacity transit option. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we proceed through the presentation. In addition, the transit industry as a whole has really unified and presented comments and made testimony at Congress and really laying out some of the benefits of mass transit. At the state level, we had a much more positive year where after several years of trying, we had House Bill 506 passed, and this is a bill that allows MARTA to do more creative opportunities in public-private partnerships, including more vending opportunities at our stations, more opportunities for small businesses to set up their shops in the MARTA train stations, and many other opportunities to expand the types of amenities that we offer in and around the train stations particularly. The budget for fiscal year 18 is overall positive, continuing to take a look at where things were just a few years ago following the recession. The red line there was in effect where MARTA was losing between $25 and $33 million per year and was projected about this time by the audit firm KPMG projected that the agency would be fiscally insolvent during the summer of 2017. Instead, we've been able to significantly change the fiscal fortunes of the agency, and rather than being fiscally insolvent at this point, we have about $250 million in budget reserves. We've been able to take that fiscal stability to Wall Street, and on consecutive visits, we've been able to get credit rating upgrades, and the most recent of which allowed us to do some refinancing that will save taxpayers in the region $48 million over an 18-year period. But FY18 does present the most challenging budget year that we've seen. MARTA has been, and all transit systems that depend on sales tax have seen a significant shift in our fiscal fortunes, primarily for this, when groups like H.H. Gregg, Kohl's, Macy's, others announce that they're having major cutbacks in service or shutting down of stores, it has a disproportionate impact on public transportation in a number of ways. One, many of the people who go to those stores actually use public transit to get there. Secondly, the folks who work there are many of our customers who actually work using MARTA buses and trains to get to those outlets. And then thirdly, because people are shopping less in brick and mortar stores and shopping more online, many folks know how to navigate the online presence and avoid paying sales tax altogether. And so we are losing from a number of different angles. So the hits that retail are taking really does impact mass transit. But even with all of that, and the fact that gas prices are continuing to be at a historical low, and vehicle sales in 2015 and 16 were amongst the highest in the history of this country, we're still being able to adopt a very positive budget. The board unanimously adopted the fiscal 18 budget that has a $461 million operating budget, a $434 million capital. And with that, the highlights is that for the 5th year in a row, we have no fare increases, no service cuts. In fact, we are adding a bit of service to a number of areas. And very importantly, we have a very robust capital program where you are reading all around the country about transit systems that have had major problems because they have not kept up with capital programs in terms of the state of good repair. MARTA has a number of very expensive but necessary programs, including a $200 million tunnel ventilation upgrade, a fire protection system upgrade that's in the $60–70 million range, Plus, we're buying all new buses, which I'll talk about in a moment, and a major rail car purchase. The state of the service is still pretty strong in terms of doing things that will make the transit experience even more positive. We are investing in a number of major technologies, including changing out all the signage in the train stations to new HD levels of service, where not only will you be able to know when the next bus or trains are arriving, but also we are partnering with groups like the Weather Channel. You'll be able to hear Amber Alerts and also be able to produce a number of different commercials, public service announcements, and even advertisements and so forth. In addition, we've already signed a contract and are underway with having one of the true state-of-the-art cell phone apps in the entire industry, where you'll be able to just take your cell phone and purchase anything from a one-ride ticket all the way to an annual pass. And when we bring in groups like, for example, 2 years ago, we had the Jehovah's Witnesses had their annual conference here, and we sold them $700,000 worth of tickets. Rather than having to go through that type of a program, instead we would be able to offer them in their convention packet. They would be able to just purchase a link, and then when they arrived at the airport, just press on that icon, and now you've got your fares paid for, and you just use your phone to navigate the entire system rather than have to deal with cash and that sort of thing. So those are some of the technologies we're bringing. In addition, we now have Wi-Fi on just about every bus and have a Wi-Fi program underway to put Wi-Fi and cellular connectivity on all the trains as well. We are continuing to be more innovative than most transit systems around the country and world, and bringing new things to make the ridership experience more pleasant, including more amenities at many of the stations. For example, we opened up the world's first soccer field inside a train station in partnership with the Blank Foundation and Soccer in the Streets. We've made a major commitment to public art, including more performance art, where we're having groups like the Atlanta Symphony, different dance groups, jazz performances right in the stations themselves, as well as a commitment to more static art as well. We have opened up 4 fresh MARTA markets where local farmers are bringing in fresh produce that they've grown, much of it grown right here locally, fruits, vegetables, fresh breads, where they can make healthy smoothies and that sort of thing, so that a person, rather than going in for a typical teenager buying a soda and a candy bar, they can get a fresh peach and a healthy smoothie right at the train station. We've also continued to partner with a number of different groups in terms of making the first and last mile of connectivity. Both Uber and Lyft we have had major agreements with. The most recent one allowed, during the I-85 bridge collapse, that a person would get a half-price fare on Uber or Lyft if their trip began or ended at a MARTA rail station. In addition, we're working with the City of Atlanta to bring bicycles in all of the MARTA rail stations, so that a person can take a bike after they finish their bus trip or train trip, or vice versa, beginning their trips with the bikes. We just opened up a new lost and found office and reduced fare office at 5 Points, which we think will provide a much better experience for our customers, to allow them to purchase lower cost fares for people with disabilities and senior citizens and students and so forth. As I mentioned, we are going to dramatically upgrade the rail and bus fleet. We are replacing the remaining half of the older buses in the fleet with new state-of-the-art vehicles over the next 2 to 3 years, and have different shapes and sizes as well. So rather than just the all one-size-fits-all, we are investing in a number of smaller vehicles that can get in and out of neighborhoods much easier, and we're completely upgrading the rail fleet and replacing every single train in the fleet over the next 4 to 7 years with new state-of-the-art vehicles that will make MARTA one of the more cutting-edge agencies around the country. We just finished the full implementation of our new Breeze card that's more secure. It's tougher for hackers and others to abuse this. And also, you'll notice the logo there. In addition to the MARTA logo, we now allow Greta, the Cobb system, as well as the system in Gwinnett, to all use the Breeze card system as their primary method of fare payment. On the crime front, this is something we take very seriously and keep real track of. This is a chart that compares MARTA with the other larger transit authorities in the nation, and you'll see we are second from the top in terms of fewest crimes, Part 1 crimes, And you'll see places like Houston and Dallas, whom we carry a lot more customers. In fact, we carry about twice as many customers as Dallas, but we have fewer crimes on our transit system as a whole. And even more importantly, right here in Clayton County, you'll see we opened back in fiscal year 2016, opened a new police precinct, and the crime numbers have been pretty extraordinary. That for all of fiscal year 16, there were only 2 crimes on Clayton County services that we provide. And in so far, all of 2017, only 2. And I believe the 2 crimes that we've had in fiscal 17 was one person had their cell phone grabbed, and we had someone throw a rock at one of the buses. So you can effectively say, and it's arguable, but you can effectively say one of the safest places to be, not just in Clayton, but in the entire region, is on a MARTA bus here in Clayton County when you look at the number of people we carry versus the very low number of incidences that have occurred. We are continuing to work to bring more businesses in and around the MARTA service area. Over the last couple of years, you've seen major announcements by different groups like Mercedes-Benz and State Farm and West Rock, making Atlanta either their home or making a greater presence in the Atlanta market, and mentioning that MARTA was one of their major reasons. Very recently, West Rock announced that they were going to have a much greater presence, and mentioned very specifically that being near a MARTA station was one of their primary locational decisions. And then, of course, Atlanta has the distinction of being the first city in the country to have, in a 3-year period, they will host the College Football National Championship, the Super Bowl, and the College Basketball National Championship. And MARTA has the distinction of having the highest percentage of people use mass transit to get to pro football of any other system in the country. So more people use MARTA as a percentage to get to the Falcons football games than any other transit authority in the nation. And that's something we're going to continue to work on, to build on, and try to attract more and more customers to the MARTA service. Our airport service continues to be the #1 ranked airport service in the nation, where you can get from downtown Atlanta to the airport in about 16 minutes and vice versa. And we have a 97.5% on-time percentage. That's the highest in the nation as well. And you can do that for $2.50. Again, one of the best numbers anywhere in the nation and in the industry. And we are going to be making a major rehab of the airport station over the next few years. And they, in turn, are going to make a much better signage and wayfinding program so that when a person gets off a plane, they know exactly how to navigate and get their way to the MARTA station. When we look at our costs in comparison to other transit authorities from around the nation, the other larger transit authorities, you see we are 4th from the top in terms of lower cost. Our average cost per ride, cost per mile, is amongst the best in the industry. And our fares, while our base fare, many people look at as being relatively high, $2.50. Because we offer so many discount programs, our average fare is amongst the lowest in the industry, because we offer discounts for seniors, for people with disabilities, for students, for veterans, and that brings down our average fare to be, again, one of the lowest in the nation. Last couple of things I wanted to mention was our overall customer satisfaction. This was a scientifically valid study that was done just a few months ago, and it shows that 80-some-odd% of our customers say they're either satisfied or very satisfied with MARTA service, and around 7% saying that they are dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. Those are amongst our highest numbers we've seen since the Olympics. And the ridership in Clayton continues to do very, very well, while ridership overall nationwide is really struggling. Clayton is one of those places that's really standing out, and we're continuing to see very, very strong loads of people using the transit service. Last, I'll mention the rail system. This is, you'll see, an existing and future, and the big part for us for the future that we want to certainly capitalize on is the opportunity to expand the rail service or high-capacity transit option into Clayton County, connecting with the East Point or College Park or the airport station. And you'll see we have gotten underway our high-capacity transit initiative. Again, that would bring a fast, higher option, a faster pace, higher option to Clayton than the traditional buses. We've got a major study ongoing and hope to have that done within the next 1.5 to 2 years. And we also, of course, have formed several groups, a technical advisory committee, a stakeholder advisory committee, as well as a citizens advisory group. And tomorrow, that group actually is going on a trip to see firsthand a couple of different options as it relates to high-capacity transit, including commuter rail, light rail, as well as bus rapid transit. We're going out on the West Coast to look at the systems in Los Angeles and in San Diego. The bus stop amenity program, actually, I did want to make sure we do talk about this a bit. The bus stop amenity is a big deal. We've heard a lot about the need to improve it. We completely agree. We have different shelters and benches in the area currently. Total, we have 538 bus stops, and we only have 9 shelters currently, with 3 more coming under, that just got opened up in May, and 4 more opening up in July. But we have a big program we'll be presenting to you in the next few months, including a new request for proposal that would dramatically increase the number of shelters, benches, and trash cans in the Clayton area. What we do in the city of Atlanta, DeKalb, and Fulton is that we have an advertising contract, and the group that has that contract pays for and maintains the shelters and the benches and the trash cans that we have in that community. We had hoped to expand that and just expand that existing contract into Clayton, but they weren't interested in doing that. So instead, we are doing a separate request for proposals. And in those communities, in the other 3 jurisdictions, there's actually a surplus of money that comes back, and that money goes to the jurisdictions. So for example, and I don't remember the exact number, but in Fulton County, not only do they have some of the shelters that they want, but then there's surplus dollars that come back from the advertising contract that goes into Fulton, and they do whatever with it. What we would propose in Clayton, because there's been so much interest in more shelters and benches and trash cans, is that we take all that revenue and put it towards dramatically increasing the number of amenities for the bus stops. And you'll see I gave a little breakout there of how much it cost. Installing a shelter per location is about a $25,000 cost. Ongoing maintenance to take care of it is around $3,200. And these facilities generally have a useful life of about 10 years. If we were to put and this would be virtually impossible because we don't have agreements with all the cities within the county, but if we were to put a shelter, bench, and trash can at every single stop, at all 538 stops, it would cost around $30 million over the 10-year period. So it's a significant amount of money, and why I think we want to work with you all to prioritize what's the most important places to have these amenities. Last thing is just a quick update. Atlanta passed a half-cent sales tax last November, second only to Clayton. Clayton had a 74% win percentage, which was the highest in the nation when you all voted to join MARTA. Atlanta had a 72% win percentage, which was, again, the highest in the nation when it passed. And with those dollars, we are moving forward with major expansion of transit service within the city. Your transit system has been rewarded or recognized in a number of different ways, including most recently DeKalb County selected MARTA's project as the Avondale Transit Oriented Development Project as the best development project in the county last year. And then just a few days ago, this is really touchy. A few days ago, the American Public Transportation Association recognized MARTA with the Gold Award for Safety Excellence for our heavy rail system. And in the meeting I was mentioning, we are having the largest gathering of public transit officials anywhere in the world. Is going to be occurring in October at the Atlanta Transit World Congress Center. You all will be invited. They will be bringing out all the technologies, including actual subway cars, every type of bus and bus shelter and stop, and all sorts of technologies. And we will have, as you see there, over 80 different countries. We'll have representatives there, and it's going to be a very, very nice show for us. And I do want to finish up. Of course, there was a lot of conversation about the I-85 response and how MARTA fared during that period, and we have a short video we'd like to play for you.
It's right there.
Have to go to it. Got it.
Overnight, MARTA put a plan into action to assist both veteran and first-time riders to make the first commute after the collapse as smooth as possible.
The train passes over I-85 near Lindbergh, where I look down at traffic and see that I made the right commute choice. I can get a lot of things done while other people are stuck in their cars in traffic.
To ease the confusion for first-time riders, MARTA staff and the MARTA Army worked to assist riders new to the transit system to get around Atlanta in the wake of the Interstate 85 bridge collapse. Working during high traffic times, they were there to ease the stress, answer questions, and ensure that patrons had a positive ridership experience. By the Monday after the collapse, MARTA was seeing a distinct increase in ridership. Up to 73% more commuters were using the North Line to avoid the highway congestion. MARTA also instituted new procedures and technology to ensure that the travel experience was positive. We increased route frequency to accommodate the surge of riders and launched a real-time parking tracker to let commuters know which lots had spaces and which were full. During the weeks following the bridge collapse, MARTA rose to the challenge of the I-85 catastrophe through ingenuity, leadership, and dedicated employees. Together, MARTA is impacting the city of Atlanta in measurable ways. And most importantly, we introduced thousands of commuters to MARTA to make this their way to a happier commute in the future.
I've always driven from Lawrenceville when the I-85 bridge collapsed happened. I decided I needed to find a different way to go to work. It's amazing that there are still people backed up, even at 5:30 in the morning. I think I'll stick with this commute choice. It's working out.
MARTA revenue is going up, but more importantly, MARTA ridership is going up. More and more people are discovering MARTA and riding for the first time, making it a part of their daily commute and lives.
Mr. Chairman and others, any questions?
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Mr. Parker, are there any questions for Mr. Parker by the board?
I have a question.
Demis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Parker, it's not part of your presentation, but the issue around the 15th Amendment to the MARTA contract over the earlier this year. I understand the language in the 14th Amendment provides that amendments to the contract must be put forth by the MARTA board and not participating members, and that the MARTA board has the right to rescind that proposed amendment after so many days. So this board, and I believe the DeKalb County Board, voted in favor of the amendment. I'm trying to understand is what we're asking for is a minimum standard of benches and trash cans at bus stops and garbage collection. And you guys chose to rescind that after our vote rather than to support that. But you talk about $250 million of reserves, indoor soccer fields, you know, and lofty numbers about $30 million worth of structures that we never asked for. And so I'm wondering why we can't get the support of MARTA to have a minimum standard of bus stop in Clayton County. I realize that your advertising revenues are your preferred source of funding for said stops, but it's not required. So why don't you support us having a minimum standard of garbage and bus stops?
Well, I'll answer the question you asked at the very end, where there was a lot of preface.
It
pieces you
was.
gave
I had to get
that-
right to the
yeah,
why.
but,
You had a long presentation about $30 million and stuff, so.
Right, okay, so, and I can address the $30 million, by the way, that was with a grant that we won from the state. So out of a $36 million project, only $6 million is coming from MARTA for that signage program. But as it relates to the question of bus stop amenities, so we've got 4 different jurisdictions, of course, Clayton, DeKalb, Fulton, and the city of Atlanta. Each have different priorities. And if it be Clayton's priority to have bus shelters, trash cans, and that sort of thing at every bus stop, that certainly is something we can work out with you, and you can pay for it using the sales tax that's generated here. The other communities have not expressed that that's something they want. And the reason why I would suggest you not want to do that through the amendment process is that the amendment process would require that once you do that, so let's say if you put that in the amendment process and you want to spend $30 million every 10 years for bus stop amenities, you would then have, if you change your mind and decided let's spend less or let's spend more, you'd have to go through the amendment process and have Fulton County, DeKalb County, City of Atlanta vote on something that's very specific to your wishes and needs. Just like, for example, DeKalb has other things that they'd like to see. And going through the amendment process where you would then have to vote on an issue that's very specific to DeKalb is not the efficient way that the amendment process was designed. So what we would propose, for example, if you want bus shelters and stops and those types of amenities at every stop, we enter into an interlocal agreement and we specifically cite out, here's how much you want to spend on it, and here's how much we will dedicate to those facilities. So we would fully support that. We just
So
don't
what you're
think doing
saying
it
is you
during
didn't
the
care that
amendment
DeKalb
process.
voted in favor of the amendment, or that Clayton County voted in favor of the amendment. You feel that the amendment process should be done differently, and you'd like to do a side contract, so that's where our taxpayers pay you more for the bus stops that are littered that you have now.
No, that's not at all what I said. Well, actually, what I
Okay, let's just keep it concise. You think we should pay
You-
for it?
right, yes, I think what
You think
Clayton
it should not be through the MARTA contract?
Okay, so you want me to answer?
Well, it's a yes or no question.
No, well, no, it's not a yes or no question
Let
because the
him answer
preface
the
was
question,
incorrect.
Commissioner Evans.
So,
Spark.
as part of passing your 1 penny of sales tax, Clayton County specifically wrote, and it's in your rapid transit contract, that all the revenues generated in Clayton County would be spent in Clayton County. And that Clayton would not subsidize things for the City of Atlanta or for DeKalb and so forth. So that's the way it's been. And so if you want to spend your money on bus stops or more bus stops and more amenities, absolutely, you can spend it that way.
Okay.
And we don't have any objection to that.
Okay. Now, we have 1 penny. I understand half of that penny is going toward the buses.
Well, operations. and
Right.
cost
So where is
much.
that other half
The other half goes towards your high-capacity transit program. So
that we don't have?
right, that we're saving money towards to build. And all of it's, every penny of it is going towards that program. As you all voted back 2.5 years ago, you stated you wanted half the funds to go towards bus operations and the other half to go towards potentially a rail operation. And so those dollars are being accumulated to purchase that type of high-capacity transit option. Again, all those dollars are going totally to Clayton County.
So it will always go there if we don't have the rapid rail for another 10
$30.7 million.
years? It's still in an account someplace?
It's your money going towards what you all asked for. When we, as part of the vote, you all specifically cited you wanted a rail or high-capacity transit option in addition to bus service, and that's the way the money has been set aside.
And it's my understanding of the agreement that it's over and above the operating cost, that half a penny. Is that correct?
Well, the half a penny is
Is
going
it, is it
toward-
just a half a penny free and clear?
a half a penny is going towards the capital program. That's the rail program that you all want, rail or bus rapid transit or whatever high-capacity option you use. And the other half goes towards the bus service.
Well, I have another question besides just that. My concern, I was not a part of this board when MARTA did their agreement with this county. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I support mass transit. However, I don't think that when the community voted that they thought they were gonna get a pole in the ground and no benches or anything, or covering. That's a concern for me. It's also a concern for me that for whatever reason, that we didn't realize what was in the contract on, as you're stating to us, about half of the penny going to high capacity transit only. That's concerning to me. But I'm gonna say this, there are a lot of stops that I'm concerned about, and I've had conversations with Mr. John Bayless, which he's been wonderful. A lot of stops that concern me in terms of their safety up and down Terra Boulevard. They're in areas that have no lighting. They're in areas to where the stop is right on the side of the road. And I've been told by those who were a part of this process initially that people need to know where to stand. But there's no place for them to stand because the stop is like up against a hill, or there's no landing there. The other concern I have, and it's not all to you, Mr. Parker, I'm from here, but I didn't grow up here. I don't make any qualms about it. I've never been to a place where we don't have designated or understood, what is it called, easement So the question is, when we put a pole in somebody's yard, who owns the land?
Well, you
Is
just
it
touched-
MARTA? Is it the county? Because we can't own somebody's yard. So we don't have defined easements in Clayton County. So I'm trying to understand, how do we even get to this point without going through the right process? But that's just where I am.
2 points I'd just like to address. One, you touched on one of the most difficult things, is that every community here has, in some respects, different rules and approaches to how they handle easements and the way we can place these stops and shelters and so forth. Because we don't have the right to just go put them anywhere. We have to get permission from the various cities within the county. And that placement, we will certainly work with you. If you can find if you have ideas about where it's a safer place, a more conducive place, we don't take ownership and say, no, it must be one spot and one spot only. That's not our approach. And as it relates to the way the half penny was developed, that was not necessarily MARTA staff's idea. This was something that was presented and said we wanted to make sure that the Clayton folks had an opportunity to have potentially have a rail program specifically, and that was one of the things that was voted on. And it was a tremendously transparent process. I think we had meeting after meeting after meeting. I was right at this place lots of times and had vigorous debates right here as well as in smaller settings.
One quick question. Where are we on track, rather, with the fleet maintenance facility?
Yes, and actually we had a slide on that, but evidently
Yeah, but you didn't touch on it.
It came out, oh, okay. Yes, so we are anticipating opening up a new, well, let me recap very quickly. There are about 4 major promises we said we would honor, that we would do the half penny for the rail and half penny for the for bus service. We said we would open up a police precinct within the first 2 years. We said we would initiate the study to build out the rail component, and we said we would build a new bus garage in Clayton County that we would hope would employ the vast majority of the folks there with Clayton County residents. And we are moving along with that as we speak. So we will be coming to you with some ideas about locations, and then from that, keep moving.
About how many employees do you expect for that location?
I had that number about 6 months ago. I don't remember it anymore, but we'll send you an update after this.
Follow up with that.
Yes, but a full-scale facility.
Any other questions for Mr. Parker? Thank you, sir, for
Thank
your
you.
presentation, and keep up the good work. Madam Clerk.
And the next presentation is on the new medical plan option and strategy as presented by Mr. Christopher Clark with
They held
EPIC.
They held it. They held it.
Before he presents, Pamela Ambles, HR Director, will make some comments.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners.
Good evening.
Human Resources, we engaged the RFP process to solicit proposals for a medical plan. The purpose of this process was to identify high-quality, low-cost options for our employees. Our consultant, Mr. Chris Clark, will present information regarding the process, our recommendation, and our future focus on benefits administration. One thing that I can assure the board is cost containment, which will allow us to provide the highest quality benefits and services to our employees at the lowest cost, is definitely a priority for our benefits administration. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Ms. Ambles, and appreciate the opportunity to come before the board tonight to walk through this process. We're going to touch on the background, what happened, an overview of the RFP, this new plan that was selected or is by staff and is being recommended, proposed employee contributions, potential savings in premium that this new plan might generate, and a recommendation from the staff I'll be presenting, and then a little bit, as Ms. Ambles mentioned, a little bit about the planned health management strategy going forward. So from the background, the BOC directed the staff to issue an RFP to seek some lower cost options for employees. So 1725 was issued in April. 5 staff members were put together to be a proposal review committee with technical advice from myself, representing EPIC. And there were 2 qualified proposals that were received. They were both from the incumbents. It was my understanding a 3rd proposal came in, but it was late, so it had to be discarded. Following finalist meetings, a negotiation was held with Kaiser on a new low plan option that they were proposing. And so we'll present some of the results, and then staff recommendations. And again, as I mentioned, briefly discuss some health management strategy going forward. So an overview of 1725, again, incumbents Kaiser and Aetna were the only ones that came in. Aetna offered a continuation of the program they had in place. They also offered a new fully insured option. Kaiser offered a new low plan along with a continuation of their existing program that was in place. They also had a 2nd-year rate cap and a 3rd-year trend guarantee tied into their proposal, which was appealing. The review committee determined that the new low Kaiser option should be added, and they wanted to add it effective November 1. I believe that might be delayed now with the decision to postpone addressing that RFP, but with the rest of the program continuing as is. So as part of that, we went to Aetna to make sure they were okay. We would have to do a special open enrollment mid-year to add a plan mid-year like that. And so Aetna had agreed. Obviously Kaiser, it was their plan, so they were in agreement, and Aetna had also agreed to allow that to occur. So the new low Kaiser option, the deductible and out-of-pocket maximum matches the current Aetna basic plan, but the doctor visit and pharmacy copays were a little higher than the current Kaiser plan, but more appealing than the Aetna basic plan, because that basic plan had co-insurance that applies for doctor visits and pharmacy, pharmacy purchases. The negotiated premiums are 13% below the current Kaiser plan and 10% below the current Aetna basic plan, so there would be some premium savings there. There's a couple of charts here that just show some comparisons of employee contribution savings from the new plan and some of the plans that would continue some of the existing options. And again, the primary purpose of the RFP was to find a way to have a plan that had some employee premium savings available. So this just shows, I won't go through and read numbers to you, but it shows that there's a discount, that there's a lower cost for the employee contributions based on the contribution strategy that was requested. So jumping forward, again, some potential premium savings. If we offer this as a new option, we don't really know how many people would take it. So we looked at a couple of different options that might occur, that might be reasonably expected to occur. So a low side would be what's shown here, with basically 10 folks moving from the Aetna basic plan and 40 from Kaiser, the existing Kaiser plan. That would be about $85,000 in annual premium savings. To the high side, which is about 3 times that much movement, which would be about $255,000 in annual premium savings. So the staff recommendation is to accept the Kaiser negotiated proposal with the new low plan option paired with the legacy program that Kaiser already has in place, to continue the current Aetna plan options that are already in place, to maintain the current employee contributions for the current plan options, but set the new Kaiser low plan employee contributions at a 30% cost share, meaning employees would pay 30%, accounting would pay 70%. And to enroll the new plan option for an effective November 1/17 date, with the full plan staying on the existing June 1 date. And so we would have another renewal come June 1 if we did the November 1 mid-year program. And that's really the end of the talk relative to the RFP, but just wanted to mention in some conversations I've been having with Director Ambles, she was interested in me including a slide on some of the health management strategy that we'll be engaging in moving forward. The county, as most local governments, has relatively low employee turnover, and you also have coverage that continues into retirement for people who qualify. So you get a higher value than most employers from having a healthy workforce and investing in a healthy workforce, because you have people that you provide medical care for a very long time. You know, as opposed to, you know, a lot of manufacturing type operations might have 50% turnover. So 2 or 3 years in, they don't have that many people left from the year before, whereas, you know, in the case of Clayton County, there's a lot of people that come to work in their 20s and work all the way through retirement. So having a healthier workforce and a healthier group should pay off for the county in the long run. Director Amble's vision includes a renewed emphasis on health management. And so when we talk about health management, what we talk about, there's two pieces of that. There's wellness, and then there's also other areas that might, again, maintain or help maintain health on the long term, you know, beyond just regular medical care. So Director Ambles and the HR benefits staff, as well as EPIC, are going to be developing and pursuing a more intensive wellness program for the county, and also looking into the viability of an on-site health clinic. So those are, the reason we wanted to mention those tonight is those will be things that will be coming before you in the not too distant future as ideas, and of course they'll be priced out and expected savings associated with that to talk about. So with that, I'm through the presentation if there's some questions.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions?
I just have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you present options for HRA as an option for us to be able to save funds or to save with our benefit plan? Was that ever presented?
As part of the RFP specifically?
No, just in general, from the time that we did the first process of passing along an increase to our employees to even now going through this process.
During that span of time, no, ma'am.
Did you present any other options for us to be able to save on our employee benefits? Because that's what I'm accustomed to with a broker. When I travel throughout the state of Georgia, excuse me, helping other jurisdictions, they have a broker that comes up many creative ways to be able to try to help them save money, as opposed to just passing along an increase in the benefit plan along with an increase to what the employees are going to pay or have to pay. So my question is, did we present any savings options to this account so that we could take it, look at it, to be able to save our employees from having to, I guess, pay so much in their benefits?
Yeah, so we weren't directly engaged to run the RFP.
You weren't?
No, ma'am.
Is that normal or customary, or usual and customary?
It's not my preference. It's not my preference. The way that played out was that when we originally contracted with the county several years back, it was as a health benefits consultant more so than a broker. And at the time, options were presented around how we would be paid. And there was an option that had a lower regular annual cost with a higher amount in a year when an RFP needed to be done, because there's a lot of work that goes into doing an RFP.
Mm-hmm.
And or having a level option. And the county at the time decided to have the lower option on regular years and to pay us extra if an RFP needed to be done. So there had been a couple of cycles where that had occurred. When this came up, I was communicating back with, at the time, primarily Nella Cooper as the effective benefits manager, and said, okay, where she had come to me and said, we need a quote on what you would charge to do this. Put that together. It basically matched what we had charged in the past, and we got word back that no, that was not going to be accepted, that the county would pursue the RFP on their own.
Excuse me 1 second. Was that ever presented to the Board of Commissioners?
Not that I know of.
So who would have made that decision? Once again, it has to come before the Board of Commissioners, so who would have made that decision?
Ms. Ambles, you got some information? If you would, take the podium, please.
And while you're approaching, let me help folks understand. When it comes to employee benefits, I take this very seriously. Because most people go work in the private sector because they pay a certain amount of money. People come work in the public sector because of, a lot of times, job security, because of employee benefits. That's the way it goes. I have been involved with this county for the past 10 years until I became commissioner in the benefit process. And it has grieved my heart for that long to see that our employees did not have the options as others have had. And I have fought, and I have fought, and I've talked, and I talked. And I'm still on this board now, and we're still not doing what we need to do to make sure our employees are taken care of. What we have done, as you just heard it state, and I'm gonna let you answer the question, is pass along an increase of their benefit amount, as well as the increase of the portion that the employees are having to pay. So we have hit them with a double whammy. Am I correct, Mr. Clark?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that usual and customary in our industry, to do that in the same year?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Ms. Ambles.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. I have worked with Clayton County for almost 18 years, and I've been in my new space as HR director for, it'll be 9 months on Saturday. And I want to thank the board again for giving me the opportunity to serve at the level that I'm serving. I do hope that our employees, and I've tried to brand myself as a professional who put the employees first, because then without the employees, there would be no Clayton County. So I state my reputation on that. You're absolutely right, Commissioner Warner. There would have been a rate increase anyway, because Kaiser's rate increased 7.67%, the self-funded 10.2%. So there would have been a rate increase anyway. Moving forward, looking at not only benefits that are important to the employee, but looking at the overall picture and trying to balance that with everything that we try to do for the employee, not just providing benefits, because we're looking at compensation, we're looking at other factors that are important to the employees, and we're trying to mesh that together. The RFP was one way to go back to look at what can we do to alleviate some of the prior decision making. When it comes to EPIC, the Human Resources Director has taken control of the contract management piece, and I can stand here and say that what I've asked Mr. Clark to do moving forward, you know, he has provided that to us. My focus is on what can we do at this moment in time to make it better versus me rehashing the decisions of the past, which may or may not have been the best decision at the time. But once again, I do stand here and say we tried to look at the overall picture, not just benefits administration, but the other perks and benefits such as compensation that our employees are also interested in. But as the HR director moving forward, I've pledged to do everything that I can to give our employees the best that we can possibly give them while maintaining costs, because we have to keep cost is important. If we're not solvent and if we're not saving, then we're not going to be able to provide anything.
And I thank you for eloquently stating that, but unfortunately, the question, you answered a lot. But I still want to know who made the decision to send out an RFP without involving the broker, without making sure that we did our due diligence. Who made that decision? Because he just stated it was presented. It didn't come before the board. Who made that decision?
Ms. Felicia, I can answer that. I think it was December before you took office when HR brought forth the recommendations for the increase of the health premiums.
That means it was voted on in January.
Well, then she brought it forward in November, but we voted for it before the end of last year, presented that with the changes to the co-pays, and this board unanimously gave consent to do an RFP to look for better priced plans.
Okay, it still doesn't answer the question. Who made the decision not to involve the broker? Because what we did is we sent a message out to that community that Clayton County didn't know what they were doing. Can I be honest with you? You heard Mr. Clark say, and I've been on Mr. Clark, And he just said, it's not usual, it's not customary. We have Kaiser in the room. Kaiser, are you here? Is it normal or usual or customary that we pass along an increase in benefits as well as an increase of the portion that the employees pay?
Really, I think that's kind of inappropriate to be asking Kaiser to interject in
Well,
this
I
conversation.
apologize. Well, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. The bottom line is the decision was made by one commissioner. It came out in a meeting that we had with our attorney there, with our CFO there, with our COO there, and our director. Nobody wants to say it, and I don't know why, but I was elected to make sure that people were informed. So we have gone through a process and wasted time. Let me help you understand something. People are going to get sick this year while we're not getting it right. People are going to leave this world this year. They're not going to have time for next year. These employees have left this county this year because of the decisions that this board is making. We need to do our due diligence in making sure that we do our part. Nothing on you, Ms. Ambles. You can only do the best that you can do and do what you're told. But I said at the very beginning of this meeting that this audience, these community members need to be aware of the decisions that are made without it being brought to this board. Go through the minutes. Go through the minutes.
Anything else?
No, sir.
I have a question.
Mr. Evans.
With regards to the proposal for a rate lock and rate trend in the second and third years, does that include an expansion or extension of a contract?
It would, yeah, it would by not, okay, so you're not guaranteeing an extension to accept that deal. That deal is it's basically an option at the county's choice when the time comes. They're basically just making a one-sided commitment.
A one-sided commitment. So if we said, well, this isn't any better than what we got, but at least it won't go up next year, we could accept that and still put this out to bid again and look for that third party that didn't make it in time or whatever as we continue to explore the options that Commissioner Franklin was just offering?
Yeah, so if the board, after thinking about all that's happened, decides we need to do another RFP, we just maybe need to do it differently, everything's on the table again.
Okay.
But I think what we're dealing with is we have to understand our wheelhouse. Each commissioner works in a different area, and I've never seen it where a commissioner that's not a licensed insurance agent know more than one that is licensed. And unfortunately, we're going to deal with increases. You can't guarantee that in the major medical world next year we're not going to get an increase. Right. That's what I think he's trying to say. You can't lock in rates on major medical.
What I was saying,
no.
it was
You offered us a guarantee.
It was a 7% cap.
You don't understand the industry.
It was a worst case 7%. Because you remember, like this past year, we had 10 on one of the plans.
Well, go back to that slide, please. Make sure I read it right, and for the audience's sake.
Yeah, so we talk about a second-year rate cap and a third-year trend guarantee. What
So
I
a
didn't
second-year
go into-
rate
So the
cap.
second-year cap is a 7%,
Okay.
and then the trend guarantee is a
So it could go up just as much as it did
6.5%.
last year.
Correct.
It could potentially go
Okay.
up as much as 7, but that's the worst case. So there would be the actual process. If it ended
Okay, I
up that worse than
misunderstood the cap.
7, we'd get capped at 7.
You can cap.
That's not a guarantee at all.
Correct. You can cap voluntary benefits for 3 years. You can't cap a major medical plan because it's all based upon the usage of the plan, but that's an outside conversation.
Well, what do you think we should do?
I think we should go through the process and do it the right way. And as I said before, when I was asked to hold and wait until this process was done, send out the RFP, do it through the broker who was hired to do the process so that he could be there to field the questions. I'm gonna be honest, Mr. Clark, no excuses for being caught in traffic or anything else. If we hired to do a job, we gotta do the job. And we need options. We need all the options that we could come up with. And if it's difficult for you to do it, we have other organizations we're members of that can help us. ACCG is just a phone call away. We need HRA options. We've got to get these benefits at least to a place to where we can say we've done all that we can do. The other thing I would do, which I know is not, it may not go forward, we need to eat the cost that we passed along to these employees because of us messing up. We need to, but that's just my take on it.
It certainly would not be a problem for us to do that RFP.
I'm sure it would.
I have a follow-up question. from the contract with the county that's now managed by the HR department, you'd mentioned that the county previous years had a flat rate where it would go up during an RFP year, but you were told that we didn't want to have that. So if we did engage in a new RFP while leaving this in place or accepting a new one or whatever, but we continued to explore cheaper options as the commissioner suggested, that would require you putting together a pricing sheet for us to utilize your services above and beyond what we're already paying. Is that right?
That's correct.
Do you remember approximately what the dollar amount was that you had given last time?
It was between 30 and 35,000.
Okay. And that's per RFP, or that's for a year that includes however many RFPs are in that year?
Neither. Actually, it was based on the two things that were going to be bid, which was pharmacy and medical, and then pricing those and putting it together. So
now, is that
for
just
example,
you facilitating the same bidding process that our Essential Services does, or is that putting in all of those other things that the commissioner was talking about?
we could have as many options. We could bring every option possible to the table. The best way to go about that is to have some sort of a strategy discussion to talk about what we really are trying to accomplish and make sure that we approach the market properly with that information.
The truth on that, there are companies out there that would do it for much less. I'm just saying, we need to start over and get it right. I tried to avoid that. But the bottom line is we had no benefit communication at all. We had not one group meeting. We had not one one-on-one meeting. And there are companies out there that would do that to little to no cost just because of the fact that they would be able to educate the folks. We got people that would love to do that. So I just think we need to start over and we need to get it right. It's been 10 years of going in the wrong direction.
Commissioner, are you suggesting that we look for a different broker?
I think that what we need to do at this time is send out an RFP for brokerage services, RFP for benefits as well. If you want to do benefits this year, then that's fine, no offense. But by next year, we need to be looking for have an RFP out there for both. And then if you come back as the best one, then great, we welcome you. But I'm going to say this is a 2,500 life group. We deserve the best. And if you sign up to do the job, Mr. Clark, you got to show up. But when I hear from those in the industry that, you know, we didn't have anybody there to answer the questions, that's embarrassing to me as a commissioner who works in that industry. And I can't answer, you know, for why that didn't happen.
Any other questions for Mr. Clark or Ms. Ambles? Thank you for your presentation, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
The board will now consider a request of Director of Central Services, Carol Rogers.
And while Ms. Rogers come, I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that we, as commissioners around this country, have lost a very, very good man in Commissioner Robert Steele out of Chicago. He lost a battle, and I'm not exactly sure as to how he lost his life, but it was health-related. But I'm speaking on this man because he was a good man, he was a good mentor, and somebody who we can always go to get advice in good direction. So please keep Robert Steele's family in your prayers.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
Chairman. On behalf of Central Services, I have 9 items to present to you tonight. The first one is a recommendation for extension of annual contract RFP 14-08, which is deferred prosecution programs for Clayton County. The recommendation is to extend the contract with, first, the Clayton County Community Service Board, which is located in Jonesboro, Georgia, from July the 1st, 2017 to September the 30th, 2017. The second one is for the Road to Recovery, Inc., located in Atlanta, Georgia, from August the 4th, 2017 to September the 30th, 2017. The Board of Commissioners approved the awards on May the 20th, 2014. Next item is recommendation for award of RFP 17-03, which is turf management for Clayton County, Georgia, which is an annual contract. The recommendation for award is to the most responsive and responsible proponent, meeting the specifications with the highest score. That is Professional Turf Service, LLC, located in Decatur, Georgia. Funding is available through the Parks and Recreation General Fund. Next item is recommendation for award of RFP 17-04, which is Clayton County Transportation and Development Guardrails. This is for an annual contract. The recommendation for award is to the overall lowest responsive and responsible bidder, meeting the specifications. That is Martin Robinson Fence Company, Inc., located in Snellville, Georgia. Funding is available through the 2015 SPOS Fund. Next item is recommendation for award of RFP 17-34, which is demolition of Tracewood Apartments, Clayton County, Georgia. I included for you all a package to give you the information for this particular one. We did a placeholder for it. So the recommendation is for award to the overall lowest responsive and responsible bidder, meet the specification. That is TOA LLC, located in Norcross, Georgia, in the amount of $589,000. Funding is available through the HUD program funds, CDBG grant, and the NSP. The tabulation summary, department recommendation, and agreement are attached for your review and information. I've also attached the contract again. There was no material changes to the one that we had in your packet. We just updated to show the name of the vendor and the dollar amount for the contract. Next item is for renewal of mobile fire vehicle insurance for July the 1st, 2017 through July the 1st, 2018. The county's insurance broker and consultant have presented the following proposal from Alliance Group AGCS Marine Insurance Company, located in Chicago, Illinois, for the renewal of the county's mobile fire vehicle insurance coverage in the amount of $58,225.85. The mobile fire vehicle insurance coverage provides insurance coverage for direct physical loss or damage to scheduled mobile fire equipment. Funding is available through the county's general fund. Next item is for the renewal of public officials and employee liability coverage for July the 1st, 2017 through July the 1st, 2018. The county's insurance brokers and consultants have presented the following proposal for QBE Specialty Insurance Company of New York, New York, for the renewal of the county's public official and employment liability insurance coverage. The coverage provides insurance coverage for claims against the county alleging discrimination, sexual harassment, or wrongful termination of employees, former employees, or applicants to the county. The renewal insurance is at a premium rate of $315,156.40. This is a result of a 3.1 reduction from last year's premium, which will result in the savings to the county of $9,907. Funding for the premium is available through the county's general fund. Next item is recommendation for the purchase of two 2017 Freightliner dump trucks utilizing the Georgia statewide contract from Freightliner dump trucks from Peach State Truck Centers located in Norcross, Georgia, in the total amount of $273,000. Funding is available through the 2009 and 2000 SPLOST program funds. Next item is recommendation for the purchase of 4 2008 Ford Transit Connect vehicles utilizing the Georgia statewide contract from Allen Vigil Ford, which is located in Marlboro, Georgia, in the total amount of $93,448. Funding is available through the general fund. And the next item is recommendation for the first contract amendment, RFP 16-42, which is for the Enterprise Resource Planning System for Clayton County, Georgia. The request is to amend the current contract with Tyler Technologies, Inc., located in Yarmouth, Maine, to change the payment method from milestone payments for implementation and other professional services to be billed as delivered. The Board of Commissioners approved the award on February 21st, 2017. This amendment will have no financial impact to the county. I request for you to approve the recommendations, authorize the chairman or his designee to execute all necessary documents to accomplish the intent of the contract, and authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget accordingly.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Are there any questions on any of the items? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
The board will now consider requests of Human Resources Director Pamela Ambles.
Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners, Human Resources has one request. Human Resources, on behalf of the Solicitor General, is requesting consideration for the addition of a Deputy Chief Assistant Solicitor General at a grade 32, Step 1, $71,942. We're also requesting consideration for the addition of a Deputy Chief Investigator at a grade 31, step 1, $68,454. Highlights of the request in regards to the Deputy Chief Assistant Solicitor General. The classification currently manages 5 trial teams. A trial team consists of 2 prosecutors, 1 legal assistant, 1 victim advocate, and 1 investigator. The classification is responsible for preparing and trying his or her own cases. The average caseload is 175 to 200 cases per month. The addition of a second Deputy Chief Assistant Solicitor General will allow the workload to be shared, reducing it from 5 to 3 and 2. In regards to the Deputy Chief Investigator, we currently have a Chief Investigator on staff. The addition of a Deputy Chief Investigator will allow the Chief Investigator the ability to focus on the strategic direction of the department. Some of the essential responsibilities of the Deputy Chief Investigator will include all phases of training initiatives for internal staff as well as other law enforcement agencies. This person will also serve as the terminal agency coordinator and will also manage 5 investigators, 3 accusation specialists, and 1 office manager in addition to other duties. Provided to the board was a current and proposed workflow charts for both positions. We also provided the proposed job description for Deputy Chief Investigator as well as the current description for the Deputy Chief Assistant Solicitor General. The budget impact of this request is $188,051.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Fails due to a lack of a second.
Okay, thank you.
Interim Chief Staff Attorney Jack Hancock.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I have 2 resolutions and 9 department requests for your consideration.
Please take them together unless somebody wants to single one out. Hearing none.
Resolution 2017-48 is a resolution providing for the establishment of the legal holidays to be observed by the government of Clayton County during the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, to request that all elected officials of Clayton County observe such legal holidays, to provide for the observance of a personal holiday to be selected by each county employee, to repeal conflicting resolutions, to provide an effective date of this resolution, and for other purposes. Resolution 2017-50 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into a purchase and sale agreement with Highwoods Realty Limited Partnership, North Carolina Limited Partnership, providing for the terms and conditions under which the parties will convey the ownership of certain properties to one another in a no-cost property exchange, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and all of the related closing documents, and to otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required under the terms of the agreement, to provide an effective date of this resolution, and for other purposes. The item 15 on your agenda is a request by the Clayton County Police Department for permission to retain unclaimed property in its custody pursuant to OCGA 17-5-54E. The Police Department petitioned the Superior Court of Clayton County for an order to retain this property, and the court granted the petition in Civil Action File Number 2017 CV 00531-10, further to authorize the Chief Financial Officer, Central Services and the Chief Operating Officer to take all action necessary to achieve the intent of the request. Item 16 is a request by the Clayton County Court Administrator authorizing the county to enter into a grant award agreement with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council and accept grant funds to enhance Clayton County adult felony drug court programs. The grant award is $19,379 with a required cash match in the amount of $2,153. The grant period is from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. The funds will be used to purchase drug testing kits, fund home surveillance officers, and fund the adult felony drug court, team members registration, and conference fees to attend the Council of Accountability Court Judges State Conference. Further, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the agreement. To authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, and to transfer any required match of local funds, all as may be required under the terms of the agreement. In addition, number 17, the Clayton County Court Administrator requests authorization to enter into a grant award agreement with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council and accept grant funds to enhance Clayton County DUI Drug Court Program. The grant award is $39,568 with a required match in the amount of $4,396. Grant period is from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. The funds will be used to purchase drug testing kits, fund home surveillance officers, and fund the DUI court team members' registration and conference fees to attend the Council of Accountability Court Judges State Conference. Further, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the agreement. To authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, and to transfer any required match of local funds, all as may be required under the terms of the agreement. Item 18 is a request by the Department of Corrections that the Board of Commissioners approve an intergovernmental agreement with the Georgia Department of Corrections for the care and custody of up to 258 state offenders daily from July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. The Board of Commissioners approved this item on May 16th, 2017. The amendment simply increases the number of beds from 242 to 258. Further, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the agreement. To authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required under the terms of the agreement. Item 19 is a request from the Clayton County Police Department for the sale of a seized vehicle to be sold at auction. The vehicle seized is a 2004 Nissan Murano gray in color, VIN number JN8AZ08T74W218548. Final order in civil action file number 2017 CV00410-11. The proceeds from the sale of this vehicle will be placed in the city sharing account number 221. Further, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer, Central Services, Fleet Maintenance, and the Chief Operating Officer to take all acts necessary to achieve the intent of the request. Item 20 is another request from the Clayton County Police Department for the sale of seized vehicle to be sold at auction. The vehicle seized is a 2002 BMW 325i, white in color, VIN number WBAEV33472KL70602. The final order authorizing the sale is in civil action file number 2017 CV00112-12, and the proceeds from the sale of the vehicle will be placed into the city sharing account number 221. Further, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer, Central Services, Fleet Maintenance, and the Chief Operating Officer to take all actions necessary to achieve the intent of the request. Item 21 is a request from the Department of Transportation and Development to authorize the Board of Commissioners approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Clayton County Water Authority for the completion of a flood mitigation study for Flint River Road at Upper Riverdale Road. The agreement will authorize the Water Authority through a partner to evaluate the flooding issues in the area and to identify and evaluate flood mitigation alternatives according to best management practices. Up to 6 alternatives will be evaluated initially, with up to 2 preferred alternatives receiving a concept design and planning level cost estimate. The estimate for the project is $57,744, with the county responsible for half of the cost, or $28,872. Funding is available in the 2015 SPLOST program. Further, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the agreement. To authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required under the terms of the agreement. In item 22, the Clayton County Water Authority requests a permanent and temporary construction easement for the property identified by tax map parcel identification number 13180DC007 located at Wingate Drive in Riverdale, Georgia. The Clayton County Water Authority requests the Board of Commissioners convey a permanent easement and a temporary construction easement to replace and maintain the sanitary sewer pipe on the property identified by the tax map parcel and located on Wingate Drive, and to authorize the chairman to execute the easement agreement and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the agreement. And item 23 is a request from the Clayton County Public Defender's Office that the Board of Commissioners approve an MOU between Clayton County and the Georgia Public Defenders Council and the Circuit Public Defender with respect to providing indigent defense services to Clayton County. The annual amount for services will be $1,988,755.22, an increase of $190,106.22, which includes the greater of a parity increase or 5% COLA for state employees who work on behalf of Clayton County. The parity increase will be implemented over a 3-year period. Further, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and to otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this request. Authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required under the terms of the agreement.
All right, do I have a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions on any of the items?
I do. And I guess
Commissioner
I
Warner.
missed it. On the item with Highwoods, can we take that vote just separately?
Sure.
Okay.
Any, Commissioner Hambrick, you have some?
Yes, with 21 about the,
Wait, yes, 14.
I don't think, it may not be 21, regarding Upper Riverdale Road. Mr. Matarka, how
Resolution
soon after this will we start working on that, or will we? Trying to remember which one it was.
The time frame for the
Look
study.
nice, by the way.
Thank you. It's about a 9-month process to do the study. After that, it really depends on what the study results are. And is it a bridge issue? Is it a floodplain issue? And we'll have better direction to make smart decisions moving forward.
Right, what are they doing now? Because I passed that and it was starting to flood today. And I saw a lot of rocks and all over on the side. What's going on?
That wouldn't have anything to do with what we're going to be studying.
Okay, is that the water authority that's doing that, do you know?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. I welcome that, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're voting on all except for item 14. We're gonna take that one separate, 2017-50.
14.
That's the resolution about purchase and sale agreement with
The
Highwoods.
fire station up there.
Right.
All right, those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Now, on resolution 2017-50, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? No questions. Okay, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
4-1, passes.
We do need executive session for litigation and real estate.
Item number 25, this is a public announcement that the first regular business meeting in July is going to be held on Wednesday, July 5th, 2017, due to the first Tuesday of the month falling on the July 4th holiday. The next 5 items are streetlight petitions. Mr. Chairman, did you want me to take all of these
Yes,
together?
take them all together, please.
The first is for a new streetlight district at Stanbrook subdivision. The remaining 4 are for additions to existing streetlight districts: Crenshaw Park subdivision, River Station subdivision, Lake Ridge Parkway, and Normandy subdivision. May we have a motion?
So move.
Take them all together.
She did.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
she went through it that quick?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion?
Yeah, so move.
All right.
For the second
Moved
one.
and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Dang, she was quick.
The next items are board appointments.
Now
They held
we're holding
those.
those.
No.
Not the
all of them.
library.
We have, did we remove items 37 through 40?
No.
I thought we removed the library one too.
No.
Yes,
We did
yes,
remove the
yes, we
library,
did.
yes.
Okay, so which one? do
Mr.
we
Chairman, I
have?
was starting with the mental health,
Okay,
and that's item number 37.
okay.
Have 3 appointments listed for the Mental Health, Development of Disabilities, and Addictive Diseases Community Service Board. The first is to fill the unexpired term of Terica Redfield Gansey. She is no longer a resident. The term expires on June 30th, 2019. This is a full board appointment. Are there any nominations?
Like to recommend Kenneth Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Probably moving second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next is to fill the unexpired term of Gabrielle Starr. The seat is vacant. This term expires on June 30th, 2019. This is a full board appointment. Are there any nominations?
Did she
I like-
resign? Did she resign?
She's moving forward. Yes. Long story short, yes. Did you have? All right, I recommend Elaine Magruder. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
And the last appointment is to fill the unexpired term of Najiba Butler. This seat is going to be coming vacant at the end of June. The term expires on June 30th, 2018. This is a full board appointment. Are there any nominations?
You got something?
I recommend Dr. Nia Canty. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
And the last appointment for this evening is to the Water Authority Board to fill the expired term of Elizabeth Armstrong. Ms. Sylvia Wright did not accept this appointment. This is a 5-year term expiring on March 1st, 2022. This is a full board appointment. Are there any nominations?
I recommend that we reappoint Ms. Elizabeth Armstrong.
I'll second it. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
3-2, it fails.
I would like to appoint Ms. Vivian Baldwin.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this does conclude this evening's agenda. There was a request to go into executive session regarding litigation and real estate.
Motion to go to executive session.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor, aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Madam Clerk, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, motion to reconvene.
So moved. Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Mr. Hancock.
Mr. Chairman, two litigation matters. You'd previously authorized us with regard to a claim by Veronica Reed resulting from an automobile collision that occurred on Stagecoach Road and Mitchell Road on October the 7th of 2016. We were liable for, we were at fault in the collision. Ms. Reed had approximately $7,000 in expenses and is willing to settle a case for $13,000. Y'all had agreed, had authorized that. We've got a settlement agreement, which we would ask that you authorize and make a part of the record. And the second one is a settlement agreement with DJENANE, Janine Smith, I think, arising from an automobile collision that occurred on July 24th of 2015, 2400 Mount Zion Parkway in Jonesboro, and the amount of the settlement in this case is $50,000. There were no questions about liability. It was our fault, and we'd ask you to approve those two settlements, and we've got copies of the agreements for the clerk.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Probably moving to second. Any questions on either item? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Final item, Mr. Chairman, is the county received annexation requests from the city of Jonesboro for 3 parcels tax parcel ID number 12-049AB002. It's located at O'Hara Drive and Jonesboro Road, and it's an 11.31 acre parcel. The application is dated on May the 31st, or the letter from the city is dated May 31st. It contains an application from the owner of the property, and it proposes that the property would remain, according to the application, zoned as multifamily. However, as a part of the rezoning that occurred on May the 30th, this tract of land was zoned urban village, so that is a significant change. Multifamily is a significant change from the proposed zoning that they have from the current zoning of urban village. That annexation, the other two annexations are contingent upon that one for contiguity, and it's my understanding that the board would like for us to file an objection to the proposed rezoning of this property as a part of the annexation from urban village to multifamily.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
How about wait until you get a motion?
I don't need it.
I understand.
All right. Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
It's 4-1, it passes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Motion to go out of, to adjourn. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it was something about
Sorry, that's not all I have. I apologize. Let me grab thank you. I'm
Good
getting
catch.
too big of a hurry. Item 24 on the agenda comes as a part of a request from the Department of Transportation and Development that and it's modified slightly from what the agenda says, but what the request is that the Board of Commissioners authorize Transportation and Development to include the Steel Road driveway improvement project as a part of the Anvil Block Road redevelopment project for planning purposes. That's correct, isn't it? Is that what we're including it in? Or which one are we including it in? Stagecoach Road. Okay, excuse me. Stagecoach.
How we gonna get from Steel
Okay.
to Anvil Block?
Okay, I thought we said it was, okay, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it's a part of the
Can I note, that's why we need to see it in writing. You might have noticed that.
It actually said Stagecoach Road on the resolution, and I just missed it. But as a part of the Stagecoach Road improvement project, this will allow T&D to move forward with the planning for that project. We are in the process of negotiating with the school board an agreement by which they are going to reimburse the county for all of the improvements that will be made and for the planning and development and design of this driveway improvement project, which I anticipate we'll have back for you for approval at your next regular meeting.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good night.